Okay, I've positioned the planes of the head so that it's getting natural light from the window. And I put gray, middle tone to middle tone dark gray behind the head so that it would stand out better. I have a white cloth under it, and I've positioned my easel so that I can quickly glance back and forth at the head. I'm using gray scale Strathmore paper just because I wanted a gray background so I don't have to work so hard to get my values. I've already got my middle values with the gray. I am using some vine charcoal, a piece of pastel or Conte white. You could use white charcoal, white pastel pencil. I'm using one of these little blenders that we talked about a few months ago in our drawing techniques videos. You can order these on Amazon. I'm going to use those to blend. I have a tortillon solid paper, not a wrapped blending stump. And then I just have a bamboo skewer that I've popped the point off of to measure with. I'm going to lay out and just show you quickly how I would begin to draw the planes of the head. I could use also a kneaded eraser or some sort of an eraser. Charcoal, it's just easy to wipe it off with your hand, but if you want to use a kneaded eraser, and I also like this tri-tip eraser by General, it's a really good workhorse if you're having a hard time erasing. I also have, if you don't like the vine charcoal, you can use a regular charcoal pencil that I have sharpened to a long point. And let's see, also this is a white pastel pencil, or you could use a white charcoal pencil to heighten your areas of white. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to decide where I'm going to lay the head on this paper. It's small, I think it's a 9 by 12, so it's not very large. I can't do life size. I'll do a little under life size. This is also a bumpy, toothy paper, so I will not get really smooth transitions and smooth blending on this paper, but that's all right. This is just an exercise. So I'm going to decide how tall I want the head. I'm going to secure my easel first to make sure nothing's moving around. And I love this little tabletop easel. It's one of my favorites. I can adjust the height of it. So I'm going to decide that I need a clip, a bulldog clip on it, just to keep the paper from moving around. You don't need a moving target. So I've decided where the top of the head will be and where the bottom of the base will be. So now, from where I'm standing and I'm eye level with the planes of the head, I want to find my halfway mark. And that varies depending on your eye level. And I believe the halfway mark is the top of the lip. Nope, I believe it might be the opening of the mouth. Yes. So the halfway mark from where I'm standing is right there. So I'll come over here and I'll divide the page in half. Check it to make sure I'm pretty close. Maybe it could go down just a tiny bit. And double check that because that's an important measurement, the halfway mark. Yep. All right, and then I'm also going to ask myself, how does the head compare height to width? And I have one eye closed, and I'm looking at straight through the ears is the same as from the top of the head to the bottom of the chin. So I'll be able to check that as we move on into the drawing. But that's an important measurement that I want to come back to. So I'm going to look at the head quickly before I make any marks on the paper. And I want to decide a few things. I did go ahead and find the halfway mark. And I'm going to come back to that later. I'm not going to worry about that right now, but that's an important measurement. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to ask myself, how many heads tall is this image? So from my eye level, he is 1 and a little bit more than 1.5 heads tall. So 1 and a bit more than a half. So I'm going to guess that this is where the bottom of the chin, 1 and a little more than a half of a head tall. Now I'm going to divide the head into thirds. And I'm going to go from the top of his head to this brow ridge, just about where the eyebrows would be. So here to here, from the brow ridge to the bottom of the nose, and the bottom of the nose to the bottom of the chin are equal thirds. So now all I have to do is divide this space from the top of the head to the bottom of the chin into equal thirds. If this were a person, I would just focus on the face right now, and I would divide from the hairline to the brows to the bottom of the nose, and the bottom of the nose to the chin. That's all I would worry about. And then I would add the head, the top of the head on later. That is how Daniel Green taught, and that's what's in me to do. But since we're seeing no hairline, we're seeing the whole top of his head, and he is equal thirds because he's an idealized version of the human head. So we're going to go top of the head, and then all I have to do is make 2 marks. Don't worry about this halfway mark too much. Top of the head, bottom of the chin, and I want to divide that into equal thirds. And then I want to check it. You can use your charcoal or whatever works for you. There to there. I'm a little bit off. I need to move this one down just a bit. And again, use your eraser if all these little marks start to drive you crazy and you don't know what they are. This is what trips everybody up, is this measuring. So a third, a third, a third. All right, so now I have a relative idea of the height of the head, and I also want to decide the width of the head so that I have a bit of a cocoon to lay this in. And I know that from his ear to ear and top of head to chin is exactly the same. So I can come over here, because I watch people do this planes of the head often, and they'll make the head too skinny or too fat. And so if you decide this right off the bat, the height compared to the width, it will save you a whole lot of trouble. So I can go ahead. That looks really crazy wide, but the measurement does not lie. So right off the bat, I have height, width. I have from top of head to brow ridge, to bottom of nose, to bottom of chin. This is supposed to be the opening of his mouth. It doesn't look like quite enough space, but we'll see as we move further into the drawing. These are the most important lines of demarcation. I will now, starting at the top, like a window shade being pulled down, the top of the head, I'm going to guess about where this line goes. And then here's the brow ridge. Here's the little glabella line. There's another tiny mark here. There's the tip of the nose and the underplane of the nose. There's the top of the lip, the opening of the mouth, the bottom lip, shadow under the lip, the cleft of the chin. And see, I've worked my way down and I can fit everything in there. I can continue going down, and I can go ahead and note this area of shadow where it stops is about here. Here is the next triangle. There's the ridge of the base. And I don't have enough room to fit that in there. I may need to drop down just a bit. Chin, shadow, bottom of shadow, base, top of the base, which is a little bit shadowed, and bottom of the base. So now I have the whole basic structure. I've worked my way down like a window shade and looked at all the different measurements. So I don't start out working on the eyes and get down here and find out I don't have enough room to fit everything in. These are my areas of demarcation. Top of head, this line here, which would be the hairline, the brow ridge, the glabella, the tip of the nose, the underplane of the nose, the top of the lip, the opening of the mouth, the bottom of the lip, the shadow under the lip, the cleft of the chin, the bottom of the chin. Where the shadow or anything that you see under here that you could measure. You could also check to see from the bottom of the chin to the top of the base and see what it's the same as on the face. but I have a good base for starting this drawing. All right, so now from my perspective, he's at an angle, he's not straight on. So I'll need to move my lines over because the face, if I were to draw a box over this, the face is mostly on the left side. So that it would be a good idea to do that before you even begin. Here's the front plane. I barely see a little bit of the eye peeking out from where I'm standing. And I can measure the width too to see how that compares. So from the halfway mark from the ear to this brow ridge is probably going to be my halfway mark. Nope, it's a little bit in. So let's say the bridge of the nose. Nope, let's say somewhere between the bridge of the nose and the brow line is the halfway mark. Yep. So I can come over here because I know this is the right width, and I can divide this space in half. Nope. So see, your eye will lie to you. It'll tell you a different measurement. So here's the halfway mark. So that is where the zygomatic arch is. That's where the edge of the face ends. So you need to make sure that you get all the face in this segment right here. You see a lot of the side of his head. Double check it if it looks funny to you. So I can move my lines of demarcation over. We always start right in the middle. That's just a tendency. If you watch kids draw, you'll see that they always jump in and start right in the middle. And that's just a natural default that we go to. Okay, so I can start on the left here with the tip of the ear. I'm assuming that's at the right level. The tip of the ear is even with the top of the eye. So let's go ahead and get that in. Okay. So again, I'm a little over to the right from your view, but I'm going to go ahead and move on. So here is the brow ridge, and I've got to make it fit. I've got to put it over right here. So it's going to end up being about here. And this is probably easier for you guys to do a straight on view. But let's challenge ourselves a little bit. Try to do this 3/4 view. Most of the time, if you're working with a model, the more interesting position is the 3/4 view. So in keeping with the way Daniel Green teaches, he has you start in the center here and work your way out, because you're going to be more accurate if you start from the middle and move in small increments. Now, don't get discouraged. This planes of the head is no easy exercise. So no matter how well you draw it, if you get some planes on here and you're able to start shading those planes and actually breaking down the head and seeing the different values and the different areas where the light changes, then you have been successful. See, I misjudged that line. It actually goes like this. So you're matching angles here. And you want to get this shape right from the beginning. I've got such a dark line on there that it's a little distracting here. Actually, that's shorter. There we go. All right, so here, then this angle begins to go down. I've already gotten too wide, I can tell. So let me go back here and check myself. remeasure when you're not sure. So for me, this is the halfway point. So that's about right. And go ahead when you get a little area like this, if you see shadow, go ahead and shade it in, because it'll help you have some anchors. There's a diamond shape right here, and that's kind of what you're looking for. Let me go back to my first measurements. 1, 2 to the bottom of the nose, 3 to the bottom of the chin. So here's the bottom of the nose here. So I already have this too low. This is shorter. All right, let's get back up here to the eye. So you've got this shadow plane, under eye socket, bottom of the eye, under eye socket, and then there's about enough space there. Now I want to come over here and do the nose, and generally I usually do the nose first. I did not do it this time. Shadow plane, go ahead and get that in. You can correct your drawing with your eraser here in just a minute. As soon as you get a pretty good bit, and this is the width of the eye, this is the width of what is this? Your cheekbone. Back here to the bottom of the nose is right here. And I started to erase this and start over and do it from a front view. But I really think that sometimes if you see my mistake or my tendency to start smack dab in the middle, that's a common thing we always do. So typically we learn so much more from our mistakes. We don't do that again, usually. So the tip of the nose, here is the little diamond shape as it moves down. It's not a straight arch. And here's this little underplane. And go ahead and shadow that in if you want to. There's a bit of a shadow on this side. Don't lose that interesting geometry along the top of the bridge of the nose. You've got the top lip. This is the side plane of the tip of the nose, and it comes out a little bit further as the nostril here. Now we can check that because it's looking like it's getting too wide already. So let's see. The eye starts about here, and you can check the width of the eye. So you can fit one eye, and then this one will be a little foreshortened. There, go ahead and shade in this shadow, this triangle. And this helps you know that this is the edge of the nostril, so you know you've got about enough space right here. Top lip, underplane, bottom of lip, shadow underlip, cleft of the chin, and then the little box on the bottom of the chin. All right, so this box is even with the nostril on this side. This is even with the tip. There's that box. That box is real easy to see. You can see a bit of the side of the face here, but it's it goes this way, then it goes this way, and then it goes that way. It's very thin right there. Side of the mouth comes straight down from just inside the eye, here. Oops, and I just smeared that. Bottom of nose, top of lip, opening of mouth. Here's the side of the mouth. All right, so the charcoal is going to feel a little daunting to you. This side of the mouth comes straight down from just inside the eye. So it's easy to see where the end of the mouth would go. And this is really messy right now. Again, I'm standing over to the side. So I'm going to fix this. I'm going to show you how I fix it in just a minute. I can also see, using a plumb line, that the side of the neck is here. The front of the neck comes right along here. And divide that into squares here. Watch your angles, match your angles. Now let's fill in this area. Here's the triangle here. That's a good anchor point. Here's another triangle. It's a bit of a shape here, a bit here. The ear is level with just about the bottom of the nose here. The angle is this way. And it is level with the brow ridge right here. This jawline right here is even with the mouth right here. So I know that it changes direction about here. Comes in this way. The bottom of the chin box, we've already checked that, and it goes this way. There's another strip here. Those are the those big rope muscles that go around your neck, right here. There's a little triangle here. Now I can check that base and see how it compares to the head, and the base is the same as from the brow ridge to the chin. So I'm right on. I need to fix it, but this is the quick estimate of what I see. I have lots of corrections to make, but I've made some messy marks here, and I can come in here now and begin to develop this. At least I have it mapped out. And remember, your first map in is not going to be a masterpiece. So just get it on the paper, even if it's all messy like this. Measure, get it on the paper, step back from it before you begin shading and jumping into all the detail. So now I'm pretty certain in my drawing. I can adjust that as I go. Now I want to move in and lay in some of the values and start to blend those because I'll feel better. Just different things that you do make you feel better about the whole process. This is a cheap pastel, but I think it'll work. So I'm going to record my lightest lights first because those are easy to see. There's a bit of light here. This is very light here. And I do want to get rid of my drawing lines. So those are just in place as a bit of a anchor for me there. Now, most of that is coming right off with this blender. So I'm not sure that's going to work. That's okay. There we go. I can also use my eraser to draw with. I'm coming back to the charcoal form in pencil form. That is too dark because there's nothing on here that is that dark. So using the blending stump, you can sort of mash that in. And maybe you'll want to use a gray pencil for this, so it's not so harsh. But I've gone ahead and identified my lightest lights and my darkest darks. And I want to adjust those because they are really dark. They shouldn't be quite this dark. But this is the more gratifying stage. And you also, I didn't mention, but you also may want to use your Mono Zero eraser for this because now we can get in here and really begin to draw the details and lift some of those out. And you see that already starts to look a little better. So here's 3 erasers that I use on a regular basis. This is just a little regular pop-up eraser, this Mono Zero, that has a small detailed tip so that you can really get in here and begin to draw with that and correct some of these lines. I like this. It's one of my favorite tools. It's about $5. You can get it on Amazon or at any art store, but it's a great tool. You can also use the kneaded eraser in areas like this where I got the charcoal too dark, and you can just stamp it. Some people like to use the museum sticky tack, and that'll also do it. You can just lift some of that off so it's not quite so dark. And then come back in here with your eraser and start to correct these lines. So watch your angles because we're always misjudging angles, and drawing is about matching angles, plumb lines, proportions of length. So constantly pay attention to those things. Use your tortillon to draw with to get these shapes in here more accurately. Spread this charcoal around. That's the beauty of the charcoal, is that you can deposit it in areas and then spread it around. Now my background is so dark over here that will help a lot in getting, I only see a little piece of this ear over here. So I could go ahead and mass in this background here. And this is really gratifying to do this. Use your divine charcoal if that bothers you. It'll fill in, it's softer, so it'll fill in a lot quicker. And immediately, see I have a white side for this blender and a dark side. Immediately, look at how good that feels to get that. Whoops, I just covered the ear up. I can get it back. So very quickly you can establish your range of values here. And start to feel better about a drawing that began really messy and felt like it was out of control. Adjusting my angles here. And all the way around. Continue to do that. as you work your way around. It's quite dark over here. And suddenly that gray value becomes just about right. Again, I love these little blenders. They are really nice. They have a nice surface to them. They're not like the paper. They blend really smooth, the paper blenders, which tend to bend the paper sometimes if you work on them or push too hard. So see, that's already helped to establish this side of the head, so I know where I'm going. It's a little bit lighter on this side, so I could just come in here now and put a little bit of that in there. Start to get an idea where I'm going on this side of the head. Get rid of my drawing lines, because my goal is you don't see any hard lines on this head. You want to get rid of those. So if you don't have this, you can use a tissue. You could use, there's lots of different things you can use. You can use the tortillon to blend with. Just use the side of it like this. Now, you can use the other end of your tortillon to blend the white. And then you can heighten that more towards the end. But it does help right off the bat to get your lightest light in and your darkest dark, and then begin to work on the rest of the values. This whole plane is pretty light. This is pretty light here. This is very light here. Not as light as up here. This is probably the very lightest right here. Okay, so I'm going to finish this later, but I've shown you the technique. I've shown you how to get started in a few little areas. I could work on this for an hour or 2 hours. I'm not going to record that much video. I'll come back to you and show you just continuing this process, more of how I've developed the drawing. You can come back in here and check for more planes. The more planes you can carve out, the more information you have for shading, and the better and more accurate your drawing is going to be, the more dimensional it's going to be. And I promise you, the very first time you work on a portrait, you're going to remember these planes. They're very important, and they really do make a big difference in your drawings. So another thing to look for is there are variations within all of these planes, so that each plane is not one solid value. You have lightest light right here. So you could come back in there with your lightest light, your whitest white, and really sharpen that up. And I got this angle wrong. It goes almost to 2 o'clock. There we go. And I can come back in here, and this value in the top of the head here is not. You can also make yourself a little pile of charcoal on a card like this, and then dip your blender. Let's see, one is white, and yeah, dip it in like this, and then deposit a little bit so that you can adjust the values within the range. You can do that with the white, you can do that with the black charcoal. This one is darker up here, and it gets lighter as it moves over. And because I want to get rid of the drawing lines, you can also use thicker charcoal if you want to. I want to go ahead and outline. And then move out from that outline so I can shade that background area and lose my drawing lines. Come back in here with your tortillon. Sometimes the tortillon is so hard and strong that it'll knock a lot of your color off, but that's okay. We don't want it to be too black anyway. We just want to lose the drawing line. And this is the best way to work here with no drawing lines, with just bumping a value, a shape that's got value to it up next to another shape that has value. Use my little card, come down in here, deposit a little bit of a darker gray right in here. Or come over here. When you're working on this background, move over into this area and put your darks. There's this. Some papers erase better than others, so you may have trouble erasing. That's okay. If you're using paint, I would suggest that you don't use acrylic paint. I did a planes of the head with acrylic, and I had to work so fast. It was a challenge. You can do it, but it's a challenge, I'll tell you.